I am looking forward to this afternoon. We have some fantastic talks for you. Make sure you make Mainstage your home because we've brilliant talks from Department of Homeland Security. We're also going to explore Fanar and get into a little bit of detail with that, this amazing Islamic LLM that we heard about yesterday morning. Okay, here on the main stage now, we're going to start off hearing about Estonia's vision for a data and AI-driven society, leading the world in data economy. It's going to be delivered by Dr. Ott Velsberg. He is a government chief data officer at the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Communications at the Republic of Estonia. Ott is responsible for driving the country's data policy and initiatives related to the use of data in the public sector. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us in person, but we're delighted to say he joins us virtually now. Hello, Ott. How are you?
Hi, doing great. How about yourself?
Very good. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us. How is the weather in Estonia? It's a perfect day here in Doha once again.
It's cold. It's snowy, it's wet, 2 degrees.
Okay, well that's exactly what I imagined it would be. Let's hear from Ott. Ott, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, as already introduced, my name is Ott Velsberg, and I'm going to talk about what we've been doing in Estonia related to AI and data. I remember when I joined the government in 2018, there was a lot of skepticism when it came to data and AI. Many people back then thought it's a hype we shouldn't invest in. But the landscape during those close to 6 years I've been government chief data officer, it has completely changed. So when we think in terms of our position right now, Estonia is one of the leading countries globally when it comes to data governance, open data, public sector, data-driven decision making, and much more. But this was actually not the case. So when I joined in 2018, Estonia was actually one of the last countries in Europe when it came to open data and its accessibility. But currently, the landscape is completely different. Our focus is very much on kind of getting the value out of the data that both the government and private sector has. And part of that is supporting our economy, but also at the same time ensuring that we are able to provide the best services to our citizens possible. When we think in terms of what is the current situation in Estonia, then Estonians truly trust the government, but at the same time, all individuals own their personal data. So the data and AI society is really built on empowering citizens to decide over what services they want, to decide who can actually process their personal data, but also at the same time, giving people an overview of how the government is processing their personal data to begin with. And I'm later going to share some of the solutions that we've been deploying to achieve that result as well. But at the same time, it's really about making sure that the way we live, the way we go about in our daily lives, the digital part of it is really seamlessly integrated. We try to enforce once only principles. So both the businesses, citizens alike, individuals don't need to report the same information to the government. Right now, just to give you an example, 99% of medical prescriptions are handled online. The rest are basically foreigners. We used to joke around that there are 3 services you cannot do online: getting married, getting a divorce, and buying real estate. Today, the government is still enforcing one thing. You need to go in person. It's getting a divorce. So we are making it really difficult. But besides that, it's really about supporting the business environment. Just to give you a sense why data and AI is important. When it comes to data economy, it has grown on average 16.3% annually. And it is contributing today close to 5.7 billion euros. When you think that many economies, especially in Europe, they are not doing very well when it comes to economic performance, then 16% annual growth is huge. The combined revenues of data-intensive companies today is 19.5 billion euros. So this is one of the reasons we've been really strongly for the last 6-7 years focusing on how to create a data ecosystem that benefits all, both the government, individuals, and businesses alike. But today with the AI, no one really knows what is going to happen. We are talking about job loss, social manipulation, and much more. And when we think in terms of the current job situation, then we see that two-thirds of all Estonian jobs are going to see a partial automation or use of AI. Close to 6-7% of jobs are going to be replaced in the coming years by AI. So that is what we are looking at. And at the same time, women are going to see a much larger degree of automation replacement than men, because they are more often working with their brains, men do more things with their hands. So women are knowledge workers more often. But at the same time, there is a lot of kind of potential that we can actually reap. So if we think in terms of the Estonia's GDP, we estimate 8% annual growth during its peak. In the government level, we are aiming to cut costs close to 400 plus million euros a year through optimization. So there's a lot of potential. And this brings us to the new state where we are today, post-digital age, personal state, using AI, utilizing the potential of data economy, providing and creating personalized services, which don't have a non-digital counterpart. So we are talking about new services that you couldn't otherwise provide at all. And there are many principles that in order to achieve that, we've been working throughout those years. Citizen centricity, making sure that all services are available to everyone through different channels, through different devices, through different means, whether it is sign language, whether it is via voice, whether it is via text. People should be able to decide how they are receiving services. And the government should at the same time be proactive. We are oftentimes great at asking money, but we should do the same with benefits and services. We should be there to support people. And at the same time, trustworthiness. If people understand what is happening, they are willing to trust the government and private sector more. And all the complexity itself should be below the ground. For people, it is important, their data, their obligations, their opportunities. Everything else is besides the point. And this brings us to the proactive digital government approach. So whether it is having a child, looking for a job, getting a driver's license, we should automate the government and its services as much as possible, oftentimes also in collaboration with private sector. The best government is the one you don't need to interact with. In many of those instances, we are simply utilizing data to make decisions, to provide services, to automate. But in many, we also use AI. So for instance, if you're looking for a job, we are already providing recommendations. What is the best job for you? How to improve your employability? But we also at the same time assess what is the likelihood of people becoming unemployed in the first place and so forth. But now going to the government-wide strategic perspective, on our AI data strategy, we see that our government and society is AI powered. And this means from one end that 100% of all government organizations, close to 2,200 public organizations, are utilizing efficiently AI. I also mentioned previously the impact, close to 400 million euros that we are after. 75% of companies utilizing AI. When we compare to last year, the growth was close to 10% of all businesses took up AI. And if we truly believe AI and data is going to affect everyone in the society, we need to pay focus on elementary data and AI skills. So everyone needs to have the skills necessary to live in this new society. In Estonia, we've been talking about AI in terms of Krat. So Krat is a mythological creature built from hay and stitches and typically carried out different tasks. But as Krat was from devil, it could actually turn against you and cause harm. So we're bringing in the same parallel that there's a lot of potential, but you need to be aware of all the risks associated. And this brings us to the implementation part. So we launched our first AI strategy in 2019. One of the first things I started to work on was AI strategy in 2018, August. And now we are already in our third national strategy and action plan. And it consists right now of 9 different pillars. So public, private sector, legal system, education, R&D, data as an enabler. It's a horizontal action. Natural language technology, trustworthiness, infrastructure, and competencies and skills. So as you can see, it really covers everything from private sector to public sector to society as a whole. And this takes a separate 1-hour lecture to cover. But now to talk about the government perspective itself, we currently have a bit over 170 AI use cases in the central government. We've been supporting over 300 different organizations in AI implementation in the private sector. In the government, over 70 organizations have implemented AI. So this is the current state. And just to give you some examples, I already mentioned previously the unemployment agency, but customer call analysis, identification of clear-cutting tree species, crops, optimizing teaching, agriculture satellite image analysis. This was actually one of the first projects that was carried out in that was present in 2018. So no need for on-site inspections, understanding whether hay has been cut or not, but also new solutions. For instance, MemoGen AI, it helps to save 80% of time writing memos. This translates over 28,000 hours a year or 650,000 euros. And you can see the return on investment. So simple use cases that benefit a lot of impact. But how can we increase value add of every citizen? For this, in 2021, we came out with the concept of Bureaucrat, which is a government virtual assistant by voice, by text, in Estonian, Russian, English, using common devices, channels, open source, and free. So the idea is government as a virtual assistant to support people. And at the same time, ensuring that the government is available within 3 moves of thumb or via voice and text, again, utilizing voice recognition, so forth, personalized citizen-centric opportunities, also finding a solution to a problem fast, all services across all government organizations in one place. And also I mentioned previously, transparency. So we have data tracker, which provides an overview of how the government is actually processing your personal data. And consent management gives people the right to decide who and for what reason can access their personal data. Our focus has really been on reusable core components, and those are being utilized both by the public sector and private sector alike. So whether it is speech synthesis, speller, speech recognition, these are areas that the government has strongly invested in. And this is just one of the examples. Text.Ott Toolkit, which allows textual analytics, it has been used in topic tagging for customer support, topic detection from books, document registry audit, and GDPR compliance check. So one tool to cover all those different use cases. But oftentimes it's not really about solutions itself. It's about supporting organizations to actually implement things that already exist. And our focus really has been on hands-on support, whether it is data management, data analytics, AI, and the list goes on. And similarly, skills and competencies. I keep repeating, you can never do enough. We educate every year minimum 10% of all public sector employees. We have different annual events, ways of experimenting, hackathons, competitions, pets. So really put an effort to skills and competencies. But at the same time, it's not about numbers, it's about return on investment, whether people are actually putting their new skills, knowledge to work. And here is the situation with the private sector. So it's not only about government, it's also about private sector. What is their digital maturity? Different trainings, understanding where actually AI could be implemented, demonstration projects, providing funding, helping to find sources for funding, and the list goes on and on. We've been also reaching out to the community at large. So in 2022, we carried out an AI testbed competition. There were 5 different projects, for instance, drinking water quality prediction model. Last year, our energy company launched a similar competition as a follow-up. They got close to 3,000 different teams trying to solve their problem. Give me one example where you get 3,000 different teams trying to solve a problem that you have. That's the potential of reaching out to a community. So I would recommend everyone to look into. But also it's about accessibility. We are right now working on new government health data that we are making available to everyone as synthetic data. This is an example of transportation vehicle registry, but we are now working on, for instance, salary data, making it available to everyone to have a fair overview of what are the salaries amongst different professionals, helping to make a more even ground for everyone, both employers and employees. But in order to achieve everything, you need to have a data and AI-driven organization. And these are some of the areas that we are working on to support organizations actually to be data and AI-driven. It's governance, it's principles, guidelines, data culture and competencies, interoperability, and much more. And with all that in mind, we need to balance it with trustworthiness and human-centered aspect. So we have some requirements that we demand everyone: monitoring the use of personal data, requirements on data quality, metadata management, privacy impact assessments need to be carried out. But we are also, I see a strong importance in privacy enhancing technologies. So how can we minimize the burden and processing of personal data to begin with? Similarly, data tracker and consent service. When we have had issues with data processing, we have seen that close to 450,000, 1/3 of Estonians have looked into how their data is being processed. Just a month ago, we had over 1 million consents given to give right to decide how their data is being processed. For instance, it takes today a couple of minutes for banks to get all the necessary information on your salary to make a decision for loan. So this is it from my side, a really brief overview. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ott. Really interesting presentation. And I look at this and I think of my country in Ireland, and I wish we shared some of your approaches to using AI. But I guess one of the questions I was wondering was, you know, when you automate such important public services, is there a greater risk of manipulation or deception? You know, I'm looking at, you know, getting passports or registering births and deaths, those sort of things. When you don't have a human in the loop, is that a little bit dangerous when it's something as important as citizenship or civil rights?
So it's only dangerous if you have no data quality assurance process in place at all. Oftentimes, the major issues when it comes to data quality, it's not computer, it's not information systems, it's the human that actually provides and gives that data to begin with. So in most cases where we are facing huge difficulties with data quality, and this is what in the end affects the decisions made, it's the human in the loop that causes the problem, not the other way around.
Right, but let's develop that then. What if the human in the loop has a malicious intent? So if they intend to deceive the system, then how do you pick something like that up, for example?
Yeah. So in all cases where it is truly life changing, we actually have in the end a human in the loop as well.
Right. Okay.
So
So you do.
they
Okay.
they serve as a recommendation system. So for instance, when deciding what jobs to recommend, yes, you can see the recommendations, but in the end, the recommendation is given by a government official who will take that as an input. What we are right now facing or struggling in some areas, people still rely and want to trust their gut feeling.
Yeah.
They know better, and that's a problem that we need to change. It's about data-driven operation.
And then just finally, because it is a question that a lot of organizations are struggling with, how do you deal with bias? If you're making job recommendations, for example, if you're making decisions that affect people's lives that are based on data sets that may include bias, how do you address that in providing, inclusive and equitable public services?
Yeah. So we have actually set up requirements for the whole of government and all government organizations. So you need to, for instance, have data quality assurance process, data quality dimensions metrics assigned, root cause analysis carried out when there are issues and so forth. And you can never, I would say, eliminate kind of the risk, but you can minimize it.
Right.
And carrying out kind of regular data quality audits and so on, this is something that we've been working on, helping to even understand what was the issue or root cause of the problem. This is one approach, but overall, you need to have data quality really tied to the business side of the things.
Yeah.
Just invest your kind of hard-earned money, or if it's tax money, then given money, it doesn't pay off.
Yeah, brilliant. Really interesting talk. Dr. Ott Velsberg is Government Chief Data Officer at the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications at the Republic of Estonia. Round of applause for Ott, please. Thank you, Ott. Have a good day. Hope that the weather improves.